Same with everything else. And this is a lot of people have a hard time grasping that. To them, it's just like unfathomable that the brain is responsible for who we are. But we'll learn over time.
Yeah, how's it going?
Great.
Yeah, I was coming up on the last one, trans women are women. I disagree.
Okay.
And I think like my argument would basically be that biological sex exists and gender is a social construct.
Well, we know that gender is more than just a social construct. Gender is, there's a biological aspect to gender.
I would disagree with you.
Hold on, I'm not done yet. There's a neurobiological aspect of gender. There's a sociological aspect of gender. There's a cultural aspect of gender. And
explain the neurobiological, because that would be the point that you're actually contending with.
No, my point is that it's irrelevant. So we know
it's
that
it's my entire argument. It's very
all right,
relevant.
So we know that in the brain, the certain parts of the brain are responsible for our identities. The hypothalamus, the thalamus, certain parts of the cortical thickness layers, white matter, gray matter. And so we know that those are responsible for our gender identities. And so that's why.
Yeah, so you're saying that it's consensus settled science that we know the exact part of the brain that determines the gender that we will represent ourselves as. That's your argument?
We have a very good understanding of gender identities in the brain. Yes.
Okay. Point me to the study, or point me to the. You say it's neurobiological, which is basically. Essentially, you're saying that gender exists in your thoughts, in your head, which I don't disagree with. But now you're making the claim that there is settled consensus science that we know exactly the part of our brain that tells us what gender.
Yeah, so here's one called the neurobiological characteristics associated with gender identity. Finding some
neurobiological is not actually like for instance, biological sex is. You're talking about identifiable. If you found 1,000 people who had lived and died 1,000 years ago, if you were to find their remains intact, you could say with certainty, I know exactly which one of these are biological male and which one. Well, hang on, let me finish. So you would know which one is about sex. Do I get to finish the thought or no? You would know which ones are males and which ones are females. If you were to dig up bodies 1,000 years later and if their brains were intact, looking at their brains would not tell you which gender any of those people identified as. And in terms of it being a social construct, it's entirely social.
Red herring. This is a complete utter red herring. So I literally gave you a source, right? The neurobiological characteristics associated with gender identity. That's a great study.
You read a sentence and you read the name of it.
That's a source, right? Another source is sex versus gender associations via brain structure. And this is another study that confirms that there are parts of the brain that are responsible for gender expressions and identities. Another one called the Neurobiology of Gender Identity and Sexual Orientation.
I completely agree with you.
So, okay, great. So what's your scientific criticism of these studies?
Yeah, my scientific disagreement there is that my exact argument. I mean, you're not actually proving.
No, that's not a scientific criticism. So let's try this again. What is your scientific criticism of the sources I presented to you?
You didn't give me a source. You gave me the name of an article.
I gave you three sources. The source would be the person who actually did it. These are the names of three peer-reviewed studies, right? So let me do it again for you.
Okay, who did the study? Like who did?
Let's look up the study here, right?
That would be what the source is.
It's called Sex versus Gender Associations of Brain Structure.
By who? Who did the study?
By who? By the Journal of Clinical Neuroscience. This is a peer-reviewed journal.
Okay, and which scientists did it? Who are the people?
Why does it matter who the freaking scientists are? It's H.K. Lukoff, R. Smith. There's a bunch of scientists that are neuroscientists.
Okay, so how did they do the study? Like, explain how they processed this study.
They looked at people's brain scans.
Okay, so they looked at people's brain scans, and then they asked them what gender they are.
See, this is the problem with gender critical people. They don't listen, and they just reject any science that's put forth. The science is clear. We can look at your brain, and we look through, like the study shows, we're looking at certain parts of the brain, and we find correlations between the structure of the brain and the identities.
Okay, that doesn't prove anything, though.
It shows a correlation between the brain and our identities.
Yeah, so it shows that a certain part of your brain lights up when you think about your biological sex.
Yes, that's how we know there's a
Yeah,
correlation.
that doesn't do anything.
That's not a scientific criticism. Look, that's how we know, for example, parts of the brain like the prefrontal cortex.
Okay, that doesn't mean that trans women are women, though.
This is basic neuroscience. This is how we know that the prefrontal cortex is responsible for language. We see the parts of the brain that are active when we exhibit those things.
Okay, so I'm not arguing against the fact that there is science behind the brain, but that doesn't mean that trans women are women.
It does, because a woman is an identity, and that trans women
you're just saying because we can scan brains.
Can I speak? Can I speak?
You just keep babbling on about shit that literally is.
Relax, relax, relax.
This is going nowhere.
Because you're not listening.
What you're saying is completely irrelevant. Host has lost his mind. True.
Trans women are women because they have a woman identity. Period.
Ben the vegan farmer. Yeah, we don't care about your opinion anyways, buddy.
Dude, you're just crying, right? Like, what is your argument?
Yeah, my argument is that your argument is that trans women are women. I am arguing that biological men who transition to live as a woman are not women.
That's not.
They are trans women. That's what they are by definition. Even the way that you word trans women are women.
What do you think it means to be transgender?
W guessed. Appreciate that.
Yeah. What do you think it means to be transgender?
I think that what transgender people are is they are a person.
No. What does it mean to be transgender?
It means that you transitioned to to live as another gender.
No, that's not what it means. So
okay, then what does it mean?
So the very thing you're critiquing is the very thing you don't understand. Being transgender means you don't identify with the gender you were given at birth. That's all it means.
And then what do you do?
The very fact that you don't understand it is a very critical part of this conversation. Not only do you not know what you're talking about, you haven't provided a single scientific criticism today. I've given you multiple sources.
I don't need to provide a source to tell you that the sky is blue and that guys who have
don't even know what the fuck you're critiquing. So try again. Give a valid argument why trans women are not women.
Yeah, they're not women because they are biologically, essentially like they are biologically not women. That's why.
What does that mean? Do you know the difference between sex and gender? This is a question-begging argument.
Yeah, they literally...
You're question-begging the notion that sex and gender are the same. This is why your argument fails. Do you know the difference between sex and gender? Do I have to educate you?
I already... My first point is that... What are you shaking your head at? I haven't even made a point yet. You were just shaking your head, and I'm not even saying anything of substance. Why are you shaking your head? Okay, biological sex exists, and then there is gender, a social construct. Biological sex is objectively
gender
provable.
Can be biological too.
Gender is essentially polling science.
Look, everything about us is biological, right? Everything about you is biological. There's nothing about you that's not biological.
Okay, yeah, I use the word biological
that gender is somehow not
because
biological.
If I say the word regular sex, some people will mean...
Let me explain. Let me educate you on this. Everything about you is biological. So saying that gender is not biological doesn't make any sense. We know now, especially...
I didn't say that it isn't.
Okay, great. So then you agree that there's a neurobiological aspect to gender identity?
I think that every single part of your body, there is a neurobiological part of it. Because everything that you do, everything that you think...
there is no neurobiology in my foot. There's no neurobiology in my foot. Okay. Do you agree that gender identity comes from the brain?
No.
Okay. That's the problem. I give you three sources.
I think it comes from liberal women.
I give you three sources that
indoctrinate their children when they're very young.
I gave you three sources that demonstrates it does come from the brain. So what is your scientific critique? If you don't have one, frankly, go away.
Yeah, my scientific critique is that people like you who believe this stuff are fucking retarded.
See,
Is that sufficient?
this is the best you got? Come on, dude. I know you're not trying to be mean, right? I know you're doing this because you're repulsed by what I have to. Oh, he ran away. Guys, come on, let's be nice, okay? Let's be nice. You know, I know you're wrong, but let's just be nice about it. Relax, it's okay. Yeah, chromosomes do not matter. Like, we're not talking about chromosomes. That's irrelevant to your gender identity.
Yo,
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing all right. How about yourself?
Doing great. What do you got for us?
We can take a different route because the guest easily won the whole neurobiological argument shit. So I want to just start like with definitions and the way
Whoa, whoa. What do you mean he won the neurobiological shit?
I mean, all you're really claiming is that when you identify as something in your thinking mind, your brain lights up. That's like, it doesn't matter if I identify as a basketball player. Like if somebody asks me in a study and they say, which sport do you identify most with, basketball, hockey, or soccer? And I'm thinking about it and I say, I identify as a basketball player and I imagine what a basketball player looks like and what that action is like. My brain is lighting up, thinking about playing it and identifying as a basketball player. That's how that works, bro. And now we can move on. We can move on. You guys just yapped about.
Stop. You're not going to grandstand. You're wrong. You're completely false. See, that kind of study would show that the visual cortex would light up, not the hypothalamus, not the parts of the brain that we are studying when it comes to gender identity. There are various different structures in the brain that give rise to your identity. The somatosensory cortex is one of them. The hypothalamus is one of them, right? These parts you have not demonstrated is equivalent to thinking yourself as a basketball player. And we have done other postmortem studies on people. It's not just looking at brain scans. There's various studies that we've done with various methods that demonstrate gender identities do indeed come from our neurobiology. So you don't.
So would you agree with the
just
statement?
Because you think you have a win doesn't make it a win.
Okay, so would you agree with the statement, all identities come from the brain?
All identities come from the brain. What do you mean by identity?
All identities come from the same region of brain that gender identity comes from. All identities come from that same region.
No.
Okay, so what are the
all.
specifics then? So explain the
there are
specifics.
different parts of the brain. There are certain parts of the brain that are responsible for gender identity. So no,
Okay.
you're wrong. Now
So
we
there's a
disagree there.
specific part of the brain for gender identity. So what about
There's specific
me?
parts involved?
Okay. So here's where your whole thing falls apart. So guys, don't get caught up on the whole brain bullshit. It's just like a never-ending circle of your argument. Here's what you say to this, a very easy counter. You say, well, what if I don't have a gender identity? I just am. Reality exists. I am a man. I am a male. I don't identify as anything. I just am.
This is an invalid critique.
Because now all cis
beings-
people need to unite and say we don't have a gender identity. I'm just a man. Gender
That's-
identity
that's like
only
saying I don't
exists
have- that's like
to
saying I don't
1%
have
of
a
the
brain.
population.
That's
We
like
never
saying-
had an identity, bro. It's never.
That's like saying I don't have a brain, right? Everybody has a brain. So the idea that you don't have an identity is absurd, right? The very fact that you're up here calling yourself a man is evidence you have a gender identity.
All right, let me break it down one more time.
Everybody has one. And so just because you think you don't, that was not a valid argument.
Let me break it down one more time for you. I was born with my skin color white. But race is different than skin color. Race is based on identity. Yes or no? Yes. So
No,
my
what's
race is black.
What is race?
I am now black, and you have to respect that.
No. What is race?
Race is a form of identity dealing with cultures and skin color.
What's the identity involved with your skin color?
There's no. Again,
There is no fucking identity of
hold
a
on.
race. There is no
confusing
racial
skin
identity.
color and race.
Stop it.
No. Skin
Stop.
color is.
Skin color is not an identity. Race is not an identity.
Skin
It's
color
a
is
cultural label. It's not an identity, and it's definitely not analogous to gender identity. Race is not analogous to gender. They're two different categories. So you're invoking a category error. Now let's try this again. Why is my statement false? Let's try again.
so this is what I tried to start with, and then you wanted to go back into the brain thing. So like, let's get off this because I
No,
mean the chat decided,
why
bro.
am I
You took a
false?
fat L on that
Why
one,
is
bro.
my statement false?
Which statement? Don't yap and then say why is my statement false? Say make a statement,
Oh
a very
my
clear and
gosh,
concise
you came up
statement.
here for it. Trans woman or woman? Why is
Okay,
it
so let's go
false?
into it. So what is a woman?
It's a gender identity.
And what is a trans woman?
Somebody who doesn't align with the gender they were given at birth.
So why'd you give two separate definitions for that?
Because I never said trans is the same as woman. Being
Trans
trans
women
is not a
are
gender
women.
identity. It's
So
an
would you say if you
adjective.
say trans women are women, it's the same as saying a trans woman is a woman?
Is
the
every
same thing.
woman tall?
So again, trans women are women.
No, stop. It's an adjective. Do you know that not every woman's tall, right? Just like not every woman is trans. That's
Just
a
like your dick is 2
distinction.
inches, my boy. Your dick
Tall
is 2
or
fucking
trans,
inches, bro. You
these
probably
are
sleep with trans women. You probably
these are-
fuck trans women, bro.
Stop. These are adjectives. You know what an adjective is?
Yeah, like horny. You're horny for trans women.
Imagine this. Somebody who doesn't know what they're critiquing, doesn't know what they're saying, doesn't listen to what I'm
Dude,
saying.
chat
and
is
they
laughing
think
at
they're
you, bro.
right.
I hope you don't have a real
The
job.
chat
This
is
embarrassing.
laughing. Oh, that's fine.
You definitely don't
But
have
you're
real
still
friends, bro.
wrong.
You're a
You still
closeted
haven't
gay
given
man,
a
bro.
valid critique.
You're a closeted gay man, bro. You don't have friends. You don't have a job because, like, you wouldn't be speaking on this if that's not true, bro.
I'm speaking on this because we live in a world in which people like you are assholes to others for no reason, out of ignorance.
No, we respect women. That's the whole thing.
Okay, if you
We
respect
respect
women, then
cis
why do
women,
you
as you call
reject
them.
their existence?
Yes, we respect their existence and their right to play sports
Okay, so why do you reject their existence?
because
You respect them.
men should not be dressing up like women and going into their bathrooms.
Nobody said
buddy.
men are dressing up as women. That's not what it means to be trans. Let's try this again.
That's all they're doing, dude.
What does it mean to be transgender?
It means you put on a dress and you change your name from Sam to Sally.
No, that's not what it means. It
Oh,
means
you're
you
right.
get-
And then you get some skin reconstruction surgery.
This kind of behavior is not how we become a civilized society, right? Coming up here, calling me names, calling me gay, calling me this. Come on, people. Where's your humanity? Where's your respect? I know you don't like me. I know you don't understand this topic. I know you think we're all crazy. But that's because you haven't done your due diligence. You haven't learned about the brain. You haven't learned about psychology. You haven't learned about the sociology behind gender. You ignore it. And that's why this all seems foreign to you, because you don't understand it. But that doesn't give you the right to be an asshole and to be a jerk, right? Let's be civilized and have a good conversation instead of saying, you're gay, you're this, you're that, you're disgusting. Come on.
Hello.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Great.
I was trolling a little too much. There's a lot of people that will want to troll and stuff, but I do prefer to have a respectful conversation.
Okay.
Yeah, anyways, so I think so the way like when I was growing up, there were no trans people. That wasn't people weren't saying trans this, trans that, but what they were saying was tomboy and tomgirl, and maybe you would have a girl who would have you know the same interests and the same like personality traits that boys usually have rather than girls. We had that tomboys and tomgirls. And I just want to know, like, is there a difference between a tomboy and a tomgirl and a trans boy and a trans girl? Like, could you
Yeah,
explain that for me?
yeah. Trans people have always existed. It's just that we haven't used the term because we didn't understand it. We still don't understand it largely. But trans people have always existed since we've been human for millions of years. The thing is that a trans person is simply somebody who doesn't identify with a gender they were given at birth. A tomboy is somebody who might exhibit, masculine features as a female, right? They might exhibit more masculine or fulfill men roles, right? But that doesn't
Hmm.
make them trans. There's an obvious distinction, and it all comes down to the neurobiological underpinnings, in which your identity as a man or a woman comes from the brain. And my identity as a man comes from my brain, just like a trans woman's identity comes from her brain. And that's why trans women are women and tomboys are not women necessarily. The
But
tomboys are
doesn't
not trans necessarily.
if a tom, so if you have a tomboy, which is a biological girl, um, isn't their tomboyness coming from the brain? Isn't that like what I see in that is a girl who is like masculine? I just still don't really understand the distinction. Like, what's
There's
the difference?
masculinity. There's the brain is responsible for how we think, how we act and behave, and our personality, right? But obviously, there's going to be a distinction between somebody who exhibits masculinity versus an actual gender identity, right? Because you can be more masculine
Oh,
with
so
because of
someone who
hormonal factors, other factors involved, not just the neurobiology. Like
okay, wait, so you
for
said
example, we know
neuro
that lesbians have very similar testosterone levels as cis men,
as cis men.
cis straight men.
Okay, so like what's the since I'm still kind of having trouble understanding, could you give me like an example of a trans woman and an example of a tomboy and give me some details about each one so that I can see like the difference a little better? Like I just still don't really get it. Like are you saying that tomboy it refers more to like your physical appearance and gender identity is more like, kind of your mental? Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying that all being trans is not neurobiological. Being trans is something society says, right? It's a
Well,
legal,
what does
it's an adjective
neurobiological mean?
for
I'm sorry to cut you off. Yeah, I'm sorry to cut you off, but what does neurobiological mean?
it means the
You
study
said
of the
it a
brain
bunch of times.
structure.
Yeah.
Yeah, the study of the brain structure.
Okay, so the brain.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
and so what's the other one?
other what?
So one is neurobiological. Was that was that being trans or was that being
Look,
a
look, look,
tomboy?
look, let's try this. Let me try it from scratch. Everything about us is neurobiological, everything about our behaviors for the most part. But there are other factors involved with somebody being a tomboy versus being trans. The other factors are perhaps hormone levels, right? There could be sociological factors involved with somebody who's a tomboy, but those would be different from somebody who's transgender. And so this is a very complicated issue, a very complicated matter. But the point is that there are distinctions to be made, and all the trans woman means is somebody who doesn't identify with the gender they were given at birth. That's all it means.
So do you Do you know? So, okay, so let's say I agreed with you, right? And let's say you and I were on 100% the same page. What I would do is I would like describe that in the form of like a chart or in the form of like a paragraph or something, and then I would like post that either on my own social media or I would expect that there's some sort of you can find that somewhere. Do you know if there's like some place where where people can get educated on stuff like this?
I mean, gender studies. Go study what gender means. I mean, there's an entire field of sociology dedicated to this. But yeah, go online. You
Yeah,
can learn
but
about it.
like
But I forgot what I was going to say. Oh yeah, it's a spectrum, right? Gender is a spectrum. Gender expressions exist on a spectrum. Gender roles exist on a spectrum. The human's psychology is complicated. It's not binary. It's not simple. It's complicated, and so there's going to be certain distributions of gender identities, gender roles, and all the above. You know, and that's what people don't grasp. They're not really getting that. You know. Hello?
Hello. I was wondering what your argument is for why you should be vegan. Is it just like NTT or what?
No. What do you? This is a question you have to ask yourself, right? You have to ask yourself what justifies slaughtering animals, you know, and to you, what justifies slaughtering and exploiting others?
Well, by others, you're kind of making like an identity statement there. That they're like beings.
That they're what?
That they're like these beings that we give like value. Like you're making some identity statement by saying others. You're indicating that they're like persons.
No, they're just individuals. Do you agree that animals are individuals with experience?
Well, that depends what you mean by like individuals. You're making an identity statement with
Somebody
that.
with it's a being with a particular experience. Do you agree?
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. It's a being with a particular experience.
Okay. So what justifies exploiting beings with experiences?
I don't value that, like their level of experiences. Unless I have a personal connection.
So like when it comes to a dog, you think it's okay to just slaughter a puppy?
I said unless I have like a personal connection to it.
Oh, okay. So like if you have a personal connection with somebody, you get to love them, but if you don't have a personal connection, you get to slaughter them, correct?
Well, it depends if I give them like certain like moral value. Like I do to like humans and stuff, but I wouldn't to like an ant.
Yeah. So why do you think it's okay to slaughter why do you think it's okay to slaughter dogs but not ants?
I didn't say that it wasn't okay to slaughter ants, and I never said it was okay to slaughter dogs either. That's just like a failure to track on two accounts.
So you agree that it's wrong to exploit dogs?
I said if I have a personal connection to this animal, then I would think that it's wrong to harm them.
Oh, so you only
because I give them
factors if you have a
moral
personal
value.
connection with them, right? So if you don't have a personal connection with the dog, you get to slaughter them, right?
Well, I wouldn't say that it's some like absolute terrible thing. Like there's people in certain countries that eat dogs. I don't think that this is some like travesty.
I'm not talking about other countries. I'm talking about you, right? You're saying that all that matters is personal connection. So if you didn't have a personal
I didn't
connection,
say that's all that matters. That's another tracking error.
okay, great. So again, let's trait equalize this. Do you think that having a personal connection is a qualifying factor for your placing moral value on somebody?
Is it like a qualifying factor, like sufficient?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you don't have a personal connection with me, would it be okay to slaughter a person?
I said that I already said that I value humans. I said this before.
Okay.
I
Why do you
value humans.
In what way do humans have value that other animals can't have value?
So is this like NTT?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. We could have just gone to this from the beginning like I asked to. There's no need to do all this like running around. But yeah. So
What do you think justifies slaughtering innocent beings, right? Like, what do you think that is?
well, that I don't give them these moral values. I don't give them value.
That's not what I asked you, right?
That's what I think.
I'm asking you, what is the value that only humans have that other animals can't have that makes it okay to slaughter them but not us?
Yeah, so it's just NTT. Like, why do we have to do all this runaround? If I just asked if it was NTT and you said it wasn't.
Just answer the question.
Come on, bro.
Answer the question.
Yeah, so I would just say that it has a flow, if you know what that means.
Oh my gosh. All right. So you're saying that because an animal doesn't have a future like ours, you get to slaughter them, correct?
No, not exactly. There's like we've been through this personal connection. Like there's other sufficient conditions.
Oh my gosh. Let's go one by one and ask you, what are the traits that make it okay to slaughter a dog but not a person?
Yeah. So personal connection. Do I not have it with them? Do I have it with them? Then we go to flow.
So, okay, great. So you think the ones without personal connection you get to slaughter, right?
I said it was a sufficient condition and didn't say it was a necessary condition. You're lost again.
Oh my gosh. Then just give me all the traits then.
Yeah, so I'd say personal connection, it's a sufficient condition. Flow, it's a sufficient condition. Probably more, but off the top of my head, that's the two.
Okay. So if somebody does not have a future like ours, you get to slaughter them, correct?
What somebody wouldn't have a future like ours?
Oh my gosh.
You're giving personhood to something.
Okay, if somebody doesn't have a future like mine, which I don't know what is entailed by that. What do you think is a future like ours?
I would just take it to be a future that is comprised of the activities, the experiences, the projects that we take on every day. Me and you.
Like, give an example.
Building a big Lego castle with your friends.
Okay, so if somebody can't build a Lego castle, you get to slaughter them, put them in gas chambers, and kill them?
Didn't say that either, actually.
Okay, so, no, we're going one by one, right? You gave me those two traits, personal connection, and the other one was flow. So, again, if there's a person that doesn't have a personal connection with you and can't build a Lego castle, slaughter them and put them in a gas chamber?
Flow and building a Lego castle are identical. I didn't make that distinction.
Okay. So. If a being doesn't have a future like ours, which is very generalized, you can't possibly, like, for example, is a future like ours one in which somebody happily lives for like 10 years, 20 years?
I don't take that to be like the only thing that's qualifier for flow.
Again, so what are the qualifiers for a future like mine?
I told you already. It's to have these projects, these experiences, these activities that we do in our everyday lives, like reading books, talking to friends, things along those lines. Not just those.
Talking to friends. If somebody can't
not just those. Not just those. I said it right before you said it because I knew you were going to try and do that. See how I did that?
Look, give me a general idea of what you mean by future like ours, because all you're saying is they're doing human-like activities. It seems like all you're saying is they're doing human-like activities.
Yeah, human-like activities. That's what I mean by projects, activities, things that we do every day.
So if a dog did human-like activities, you would say don't kill them.
If a dog could comprehend and understand these human-like activities and the meaning that behind them that we take every day, then yeah. So if they had that rationale that humans do, then yeah.
What if there's a person who doesn't have a future like ours?
Okay, what person would not have a future like ours?
What if there's a human being who doesn't do anything I do, who lives like a dog? Slaughter them, put them in gas chamber?
Who lives like a dog? Like they don't have higher rationale? Like
yes.
What humans don't have higher rationale?
Oh my gosh. Answer the hypothetical. If there's a person who does not have
it's a fallacy.
Shh, stop. There's no fallacy here. You're confused. If there's a person who does not have a future like mine, who lives as a dog lives or a cow lives, slaughter them and put them in a gas chamber?
That wouldn't be a person.
Oh my gosh. Answer the hypothetical. If there's a person who lives like a dog who does not have a future like mine,
your hypothetical doesn't work, dude.
Why doesn't it work?
Because I reject the terms that you use in it.
Oh my gosh, what are you rejecting? Where's the inconsistency in my
I reject that there's these things like non-flow having persons. I reject the concept.
So are you saying there's a logical inconsistency?
I reject the concept of
are you saying there's a logical issue with that? Are you saying there's a logical inconsistency in that hypothetical?
I'm saying that I reject the terms that
No,
you
yes
used.
or no. Yes or no. Is there a logical inconsistency or not?
What do you mean by logical inconsistency?
Is it invalid? Does it defy any laws of logic?
No, it doesn't define any laws of
Okay,
logic,
so
but I
then it's a
reject the
logically
terms.
consistent hypothetical. Do you
But I
agree?
reject the terms
No.
that you
Do you
use.
agree that it's a logically consistent hypothetical?
Yeah, it follows laws of logic, but I reject the
Agree.
terms in
So
it.
then you reject. What are you rejecting?
I reject that there can be a person that doesn't have a flow.
It's a human who doesn't have a flow.
Okay, you said person. Okay.
I thought you were equivocating those two things from the get-go.
I don't equivocate
It's a
humans
human
and
who doesn't-
persons to be the same word.
A human who doesn't have a flow, who acts and lives out their lives like a dog or a cow or a pig.
Okay, I reject
Slaughter
the
them?
I
Put them in
reject
the
the
gas
sheer
chamber?
concept that a human cannot have a flow and be alive.
Why not? Why is it impossible?
Because I don't see that there could be a human
That's not.
that doesn't have a
Are you
flow.
saying there's a contradiction in this hypothetical?
I'm saying that to have a flow would be have a future with the potential to have experiences like mine, and I reject that there's a human out there who couldn't have,
Why?
or that
Why do you
there even
reject
could
that?
be a human out there that doesn't have the potential to have experiences like mine.
So you're saying it's logically impossible then?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so what law of logic does it defy to suggest that a human doesn't have a future like mine?
Because I reject that concept. Of
No,
that
that's
being.
not what I asked you. Let's try this
What did you
again.
ask me?
What law of logic does it defy?
What are these laws of logic?
What law of logic, or what is the contradiction in my hypothetical that renders it impossible for a human to have a future not like mine?
To have a living human that doesn't have a flow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the contradiction.
Where's the contradiction in that hypothetical?
I take that a human being alive is one that has a flow.
No, what is the logical problem in a human who doesn't have a flow?
Okay, ready? So I'll lay out the P and not P. Ready? So to be a human, an alive human, you have to have a flow, under my view.
Why?
And you're-
Why? That's the thing that doesn't make any sense to me. We can
Okay, you
obviously
weren't asking
imagine a
why before, you were
possible
asking for the
world. We
contradiction.
can really imagine a possible world in which a person or a human doesn't have a flow.
No, I cannot imagine that
Okay,
world.
so then what's the contradiction in a human-like flow world?
I said I
human-like flow world.
cannot. 2 words.
Okay, what is the contradiction in a world in which a human being does not have a flow?
Because I take to be a human being, you have to have a flow.
That's not a contradiction. That's
That
just
is a contradiction.
That's just,
I'll lay out the P and
No,
not P.
that's
I'll lay out the
just-
P and not P. So you asked the question, okay? How can you not understand a human being that doesn't have a flow? Because I already run under the pre. Okay, are you tracking? Do you understand the words I'm using?
Yes.
Okay, just making sure. So I'm running under the presupposition of being a human being entails that this entity has a flow. So then it would be this entity has a flow and doesn't have a
I
flow.
understand your definition means a human must have a flow. but
Okay,
that's
so then
that's the point of
we're
contention.
here. So then we're here.
That's
This is the
point of
contradiction.
contention.
It does and it doesn't have a flow. How does it?
No, that's not a contradiction.
That's a P and not P. Does and does not.
No, that's just
No.
a question begging your definition.
Oh. So explain to me
Let me
how.
try this again. Let me try this again. You're saying that all humans must have flows. I'm saying why, right?
You
Why
weren't saying
must all humans
why,
have
you were
flows?
saying what's the
And well, it'd be a
contradiction?
contradiction otherwise. That's
You're
the
not.
problem here.
You weren't asking me
You're
for. You weren't asking me for that argument. You were asking me for the contradiction
Okay,
entailed.
then give the argument in which invalidates.
Sure. I can. I can do that. So I take.
Hold on.
Oh.
Let me speak. Give the argument that demonstrates all humans must have flows.
To do that, and then you muted my microphone.
No, I just want to make it clear.
Yeah. I was about to do that, and then you muted my microphone.
I didn't mute you. But go ahead.
You didn't mute me. Explain why it said at the top of my screen your microphone has been muted by the live creator.
Maybe it was an accident. I'm okay, but go ahead. What is your argument?
All right, bro. Sure, bro. So I take. Do you want to like formalize or how does it? Can I give it informal? Or does it have to be formal?
Whatever. Give an informal argument if you'd like.
Yeah, sure. Okay. So I take that a necessary condition for personhood is that you have a future like ours. What is
We're
the
not
reason?
talking about personhood, right? We're talking about human.
Well, you said the word person. You said the word like being,
my gosh.
person.
Oh
You
my
use those
God.
words, so that's why.
Okay. What is the argument that a human must have a flow and cannot have no flow?
A human that's alive. There can be dead humans that don't have flow.
Yeah, sure. Living humans. What's the argument that they
humans.
have to have flows?
Okay, yeah. So, P1. Oh, I'll give it informal, actually. I'll make it easier. Okay. So, to be a human, do you agree that all humans have futures? Just want to make sure.
Features? Yeah.
Futures.
Futures? All living humans? Yes.
Okay, yeah. So, all living humans have futures. Okay? I'm a living human that has a future. In the future, I take essential properties of human-like activities with our rationale. Therefore, this other human will have a future that has these same properties associated with having a human rationale.
So your entire flow is hinged upon your rationality?
Well,
there's
if
a
you're not
person-
rational,
so
if you're
there's
not
a per-
rational,
Wait a minute. So you're saying that disabled people have no flow?
are you saying that they're not rational?
Are you saying disabled people don't have a flow?
Are you saying that disabled people aren't rational?
Yes, they can be.
What? You're saying an autistic person isn't rational?
Why are you laughing? This is
that's absurd.
huge
What are you
fucking
talking about?
reductio. Wait a minute. You're saying that a person who's mentally disabled and has no
Mike again, by the way.
rationality has no flow.
I'm saying that disabled people have rationality. I never said that.
No.
What do you take
there-
rationality
there
to
can
be?
There can be some people that don't have rationality.
What's the argument for that?
Or a very minimal
What's the
amount
argument that a
would
person
match that
is
of-
not rational?
Stop. There could be a person, like, for example, an infant who has no rationality, or somebody who has a very low level of it that matches that of a dog or a cow or a pig, because pigs also have rationality. And so-
What is the argument for? Oh my god,
What?
I can't take you
For
serious
what?
when you do
Wait,
that,
are you
bro.
denying-
I
are
can't
you
take you
denying
serious
that-
when you do that, bro.
Are you denying that other
what-
animals have rationality?
I was actually in the middle of saying something. Okay, so I'm wondering what the argument is that you can have a person that's not rational. What's the argument for that?
Do you think infants have rationality?
I asked for an argument, not a question and a response.
The argument is that infants have been shown to not have a concept of self or any idea of what concepts mean. How can they
don't have a
rationality
concept of
without
self?
any notion of concept?
Can I get the empirics for that, please?
So you're telling me if I showed you a study or if I gave you evidence that infants don't have a concept, the ability to conceptualize things, you agree with my argument?
I asked you to show me empirics.
No. I asked you a question.
I'm clarifying what I asked you. I asked you to give me a study that shows that
I asked
infants.
you my question. I asked you a question. If I show you
Your
empirics,
question was clarifying what I asked you. You asked a clarifying question. I am now clarifying my question. What part of that didn't you understand? You understand those words?
all right, let's try this again. Let's try this again. Did you not? you're having a hard
study
time.
for? I want to
You're
study.
having a hard time understanding this. Do you
No, I'm not,
agree-
bro.
All right, I can grant you that infants have rationality.
Okay,
Now,
perfect.
Now, do you agree that pigs have rationality?
Oh my god, bro. Pigs don't have human-like rationality.
Well, they have rationality, right?
I said human-like
Why
rationality.
why does a human-like matter? Because now you're going to go back to species, which is
Because it's
not
a
part of
higher
your-
level of rationality entailed with their potential.
Okay, so it has nothing to do with your species. It has to do with a higher amount of rationality, which babies don't have.
They have it entailed in their potential. based
Okay,
off of
so if there's a baby
its
who
species.
doesn't, so if there's a baby who does not have potential for higher rationality, they're disabled mentally, just kill them, slaughter them, put them in a gas chamber?
Well, what's the argument that they don't have potential for this
Oh
higher
my gosh.
rationality?
If there's a baby who we know has a mental disability that renders them unable to ever have rationality, would you go ahead and
What-
think it's
what-
okay? But it would be okay to slaughter those babies and put them in and turn them into cheeseburgers.
No,
Okay, because then your entire argument just got dismantled.
no, it doesn't.
Yes, it
because,
did. Yes, it
no, it
did.
didn't. Because you
Because
made
your
a very,
entire-
very big error. You made a
Because you stated that
on
higher
again.
rationality
Come
is
on, bro.
required.
Come on,
and I
bro.
showed you an instance
wrap
where
it up.
somebody
Wrap it up.
doesn't
You
have
straw
the
man the
potential.
argument, said you dismantled it.
I
Wrap it
showed
up,
you
bro.
somebody who does not have a flow. Hence,
I'm gonna hit you with the
yet you
rational
would
chopper here. You gotta get
still-
linear.
I showed. Calm down. I showed you a person who doesn't have a flow, or a human who doesn't have a flow.
What human doesn't have?
The human with the baby, the baby that has a mental disability.
Okay, what's this mental
Okay,
disability
well,
that?
you said higher rationality, so let me explain further. You said that I said
Concept
baby
of the-
doesn't. I showed you a baby that does not have a flow, and you would still think it's wrong to slaughter them.
didn't show me
is a
this thing.
contradiction
You
in
didn't.
review. This is a
You
contradiction.
didn't show
in
me
review.
this though. You didn't.
Okay.
I
do
want you to give me. I want
so
you to
do you
give
agree-
me. I want
Yeah,
you to
so-
give
so-
me.
so do you
I want
agree
you to
that
give
there-
me the mental disability that this baby has.
Oh my God! It's a mental disability that renders them unable to have higher rationality.
So, is what you said.
Yeah,
You said that you showed me
whatever,
that. What's
have
the mental
flow. It's
disability?
synonymizing those two things, right? So
What's the mental disability?
it's a mental disability that renders them unable to have higher rationality. Go ahead and slaughter them.
Potential of high rationality. And you also actually said before that you showed
Yeah,
me
this
that
person
there was
does
a
not have
baby.
potential.
That
So
there was
let's
a
try this
baby.
again. Let's
that there
try
was
this
that there
again.
was that
You're
there,
being an idiot. Let's try this again, right?
No,
Try
no.
this again. This human has no potential for higher rationality. Let's try this again. This
you said the
this human has no potential for
Yeah.
higher rationality. Put them
bro.
in the gas chamber and slaughter them.
can't handle it. I how many times do I have to tell you that I reject these strawmans that you're building around my argument?
Hold on,
I
let's
reject these
answer
concepts.
this question. Answer the question.
Okay.
A human with with a mental disability with no potential to have it, slaughter them.
To have what?
Higher rationality or a flow, slaughter them.
I reject that being possible.
So
I need you to show me. I need you to show me the study that says that it's possible.
What is the logical impossibility of a person who has a mental disability that renders them unable to have higher rationality? Go.
Because I take it to be entailed. You're the one that brought this up. Therefore, you
That's
have the burden of
not a
proof.
contradiction. Let's try this again. What is
You
a
have the burden of
contradiction?
proof.
Let's
You
try this
fucking idiot.
again.
You're so.
Let's try this again. What is a contradiction?
Shit, you're stupid.
I know you're crashing out, but let's try this again. What is a contradiction in a person who doesn't have the ability or potential to have higher rationality? What
That
is
I
that
take.
contradiction in
I
that
take a
possibility?
person. Okay, so the question is, what is the contradiction in there being a person that doesn't have the potential for higher rationality? I take the word person to mean that they have the higher potential for rationality.
No, this
Therefore,
human has a mental disability. They have no potential for higher rationality.
then they aren't a person.
Wow. So you're saying that all the mentally disabled people that don't have higher rationality are not people?
I don't take that there are any mentally disabled people that don't have potential for higher rationality.
So, wow. So you're saying that somebody, I take this to be a huge, massive fucking reductio, right? That you're
I don't
considering
take disabled
huge
people to
swath
not
of the
be-
population to be not persons because they have a mental disability that renders them unable to have higher rationality.
I don't take that there is a disability that makes it so people can't have higher rationality. I reject that.
Okay, so if I could show you one single example of this,
I want to
you'll
study.
concede-
I want to study.
If
says
I
that.
could show you one example of this, you'll concede?
I want to study. I want empirics that says that there is
Okay,
someone.
you didn't answer my question.
Once again, you asked a clarifying question. I was clarifying. How many times do we need to go through this? You know what clarifying questions are because you keep asking them, and then you
Yeah,
don't
if I-
track.
Okay.
You also haven't even like asked what I take higher rationality to be, so you're probably gonna come up with a straw man
So, for
and do
example,
more of your stupid mute
dementia,
shit.
severe dementia.
Dementia?
Yeah, severe dementia.
Yeah, I don't take that to not
Is
to
that-
take away
is that-
higher
is somebody-
rationality.
Is somebody who doesn't have is somebody
The
who has
potential for higher
dementia, is that
rationality.
saying,
I don't.
Is it the case that a human with severe dementia is not a person?
No, no,
So
that's
they
not
are
the case.
So they are persons even without higher rationality.
What's the argument that they don't have higher rationality?
They have severe dementia. They don't even know what they're doing.
That's not an argument.
They don't know what the next second will be.
Someone who's sleepwalking doesn't know what they're doing.
That's not the same thing, because this is a disability.
You
Sleeping is not a
said
disability.
you said
Try again.
you said yourself.
Try again. This
Again,
is a disability. It renders them unable to have any potential. That's the point of a disability.
a disability renders them.
Let's try this again.
What?
Somebody with severe
What's the argument for that, bro?
dementia. Somebody with severe dementia. Well, are they persons?
Yes,
Okay, even though they don't have higher rationality.
they do have higher rationality.
Okay, so you understand how people with, for example, catatonia, right, severe dementia. These are severe neurological conditions that render them unable to think on any intellectual capacity. Do you understand that?
They can think.
Okay,
not brain dead.
Can
You have to be
pigs.
brain dead to not be able to think, and I don't think brain dead.
So now you're moving the goalpost.
No, I'm
now
not.
what you're doing is you're showing me that.
How do I move the goalpost?
Okay,
Tell me.
so what you're saying is that as long as they have thoughts, they're persons, correct?
No, that's not what I said
okay.
either.
So then why did you invoke any kind of higher rationality? Why does it matter how rational they are, right?
Because I empathize with beings that have the potential to imbued by the species that they are born into.
But this person doesn't have the potential. They have a disability.
They do have the potential.
No, they have a disability, right? So, for
They
example,
do have the potential. It's imbued in them.
like for example, somebody with a permanent disability of severe paralysis, do they have the potential to walk again?
Yeah, there's always potential. They can
No, they don't. No, they don't.
Yes, they do.
No, they don't. No, somebody with severe
hypothetical?
paralysis doesn't have the ability to walk again. That's why it's a
They
permanent
have the potential
disability.
to walk again. Yes, they do.
No, they don't. They don't have the potential to walk. How do they have
Yes,
the
they
potential
do.
to walk again?
Because there could be a severe advancement in medical studies, which
Okay. You want to go there? Okay. So what
What?
if in the,
This guy's so
what
lost.
if in the future? What if in the future we give pigs and cows and dogs human rationality?
I reject
That's
that as a
potential.
concept to be possible.
Oh my God!
I reject that to be
The
possible.
argument is defeated, just like that.
But I reject that as a possibility. I don't think that's
You reject
possible.
that? Okay. Where's the logical contradiction there?
How many times do I have to go through this? In that.
You don't got jack shit.
What the fuck? This guy's
got
actually
cooked.
a
You got
child.
cooked
He just hit the
immediately.
child emote. This guy just hit the child emote. This guy's so
You can laugh, but you still got cooked.
So it's the guy doing fucking emotes. Holy shit.
I know it's hard. I know it's hard to take it. I know it's hard to take your cooking. I know it.
Oh my god.
You can run away if you want. About now is a good time.
Oh my god, bro. Oh my god. One sec. I need to collect myself after that
Yeah,
emote.
collect yourself and gather your logic. Which you
Dude,
don't
that
have.
emote that you hit where you just like stuck your finger in your lips like a little baby and just started doing like a little shaky. Oh my god.
You're coping, man. You're coping big time.
You didn't do that? Did you not do that? Yes or no? Did you stick your fingers and like shake it around like a little child in your mouth? Did you do that?
Keep going, man. This is hilarious.
That was a yes or no question.
Now the audience is laughing at you.
That was a yes or no question.
Now the audience is laughing at you.
That's what you did. Yes or no?
You're coping big time.
You keep dodging the
This
question,
is like
bro.
the biggest cope I've ever seen,
You
frankly.
keep dodging the question, though. Yeah, yes or no?
Yeah, dude.
Yes
you're
or no?
done.
Did you stick
You're
your
done.
finger in your mouth and wiggle it around?
You're done. Get him out of here. See, look at all that mental gymnastics that person went through just to say it's okay to slaughter others, just to justify it. In the end, his logic is terrible, and I revealed that. But think of how ridiculous and absurd it is to just be kind to others for them. All right, so the next victim.
Yo,
Hello, how are you?
good. So, if you think God is imaginary and trans women are women, what if somebody self-identifies themselves as God?
Well, that's not an identity, but you can say you're a god, but that doesn't mean anything. Because, firstly, I don't even know what God means. Secondly, it's not a freaking identity like a gender identity is.
Who are you to say that?
It's not me that's saying it, it's neuroscience. It's basic psychology.
So, how are trans women women?
Because they have an identity that matches what women's.
What's the definition of a woman?
A gender identity that aligns with female typical traits.
It's not a adult human female?
No, because that definition does not explain all the psychology, all the sociology behind gender expression, gender roles. Like, it's just missing gender completely. It doesn't have that same ability to explain all the things I can.
That makes no sense, dude.
Okay, so for example, you think a woman is an adult human female?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, what's a female?
The when the chromosomes are female, the X and Y chromosomes.
So XX chromosomes
XX, yeah.
typically associated, but there are different variations, and that's fine. But what if you're walking down the street and you don't know somebody's chromosomes? How do you know if they're a woman or not?
I mean, that's like a very few amount of people to make a whole definition change. Like,
No, sir.
You're describing
You
like
don't-
2%
you
of the
don't- you don't-
population.
look, the point I'm trying to raise is that you don't know my chromosomes. And so when you say I'm a man, like for example, do you think I'm a man?
yeah.
Okay. When you say I'm a man, when you make that guess, you're making the guess based on certain features that I'm exhibiting.
Yeah.
Hair, beard, masculine face, chiseled jaw, right?
Yeah. Biological
the
features.
point is that you're looking at certain features that go beyond the chromosomes. And that's why your version of womanhood doesn't
Okay.
make any sense.
All right, look.
My version of womanhood makes perfect sense. It accounts for all those things. It accounts for everything that we observe in psychology, biology, and all this. And that's why your definition sucks.
Well, you know what's funny is it's funny you point out features of why I think you're a male, right? What does those features come down to? The biology, like your beard, your hair. And if we're talking about the majority of people, that's what men have. Males, not females.
I
So
agree.
you're-
I agree.
you're agreeing
Most
with me.
males have my features.
Exactly.
That's why when I say the word man, I'm saying male typical features. You're using my definition.
Okay, so how does a trans woman be? How is a trans woman a woman when those features are fake?
They're not fake.
They are fake.
You're forgetting that you can identify with an identity that contains those features of females.
So if I put
They're not
features,
just all biological, right? There are some features like wearing makeup. That's not biological, right?
All right,
Long
so
hair.
if
That's
we're
not biological. Certain expressions of gender are not biological, right? The way you dress, the way you act, the way you behave, the idiosyncrasies. So, some things are not biological about your gender, and that's why you can absolutely identify. And by the way, gender identities actually do have a biological underpinning in the brain. Your identity as a woman comes from the brain. And that's why there is a biological reason why trans women are women.
Okay, so let me put it like this for you then. I can put on a wig, I can shave my face, I can, dress up like a girl, a typical girl, and call myself a woman tomorrow. And you think that is valid?
No,
Do you
not at
not?
all, because you're not identifying as a woman.
No. We're not talking about what I identify as. I'm talking about what a common person on the street would think I am.
Oh yeah, well yeah. If you dress like a woman, people would think you're a woman.
So,
Yeah, no
so
crap.
it's okay. It's okay for these types of people to go into a women's bathroom.
No. And when did I say that?
Yeah, look, you see what I'm saying? You have to.
What
you
I'm
have
saying is that it's perfectly valid for a woman to go into the women's restroom, and trans women are women. Not just somebody who dresses as a woman, but there's an identity involved, and that's what you're missing.
Well, you don't see the problem in this, right? Like it affects more than just what you think you are or what people's perception of you is. It's like you have to be real with yourself. Like right now, if I throw on a wig and just call myself a woman tomorrow and just stroll into a woman's bathroom without consequences, you don't see the issues with that?
No, I understand there are issues in people dressing to deceive.
Issues in
But
this
that's
delusion.
not what trans women are doing. A trans woman. Your analogy doesn't work, because trans women don't just pretend to be women; they are women because of their identity.
You don't know that. Like, how do you?
We ask them questions. We understand who they are.
So you're
We do
asking
psychological
everyone on the-
analysis.
You're asking everyone that you come across on the street, are you a male or are you a man or a woman?
No, not
And
at all.
whatever they say, you agree
But
to
the point is this: that trans women are women because they have an identity, and they could go in the bathroom they choose. I don't see a problem with that.
it. That is crazy, man. Okay, let me ask you this then. Would you date a trans woman?
Probably not, because I'm not attracted to male typical feature. Male.
Oh my God. All right,
features.
see, look, you just lost this. All right, thanks. Bye.
So your argument is that I wouldn't date a woman, therefore all women they're not a woman? So if I wouldn't date it, oh, he left? People think that's a gotcha, but it's not, right? I wouldn't date somebody who's obese. I wouldn't date somebody who's non-atheist. I wouldn't date somebody who's non-vegan. That doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean they're not women. So the fact that I probably would not date a trans woman does not render them not women. It's not a gotcha. I wish you would have stayed, because you ran and you thought you had a gotcha there, but you don't. It's preference, right? Just because there are some women who wouldn't date me, does that mean that I'm a woman? No. That makes no sense. That's an invalid inference. And so I wish you would have stayed up here so you would have understood that. But unfortunately, gender critical people don't want to listen.
What's up, dude?
Hello?
Yeah. I'm probably, I don't really have a specific topic to address. It's just like, I agree with most of the things you're saying. I just like, the only thing that kind of falters in my mind that is your opinion is like, you should be vegan. I want to know, like, because I completely understand where you're coming from, because in the way that our society is, and if it continues this way, we're probably just going to run out of meat to eat, and then we're going to make a bunch of animals extinct because, we're not dying any faster. We're all just continuing to populate. And,
All right, so I'm confused. Do you think that veganism is good or bad?
it's a great line for me. I'm kind of asking you to like clear things out for me because I don't really think about it a lot, but I don't really see people on lives talking about all of these things at once. It's always one topic. So I'm asking, like, do you think that everybody should be vegan because of my reasoning? Because I can understand people being vegan, but at the same time,
Is your concern that some animals might go extinct?
my concern is
Because if that's your concern, go vegan. Vegans are way better for the environment.
Yeah, no, it's just like a grand line for me. Nobody really, I don't really get to talk to anybody about it, so I'm just like confused on
Okay.
what.
You're confused as to why you should be vegan? Because if you're going to be consistent in your ethical framework, you're going to recognize that, yeah, we shouldn't exploit others. I mean, do you think it's wrong to exploit and abuse dogs?
Definitely.
Right. You think it's wrong to abuse animals. So why don't you extend that same moral consideration to pigs and cows and chickens?
No, I do. I hate
Okay, then go vegan.
I hate all the like big animal farms where they like you can go on YouTube, like it's public information to see them slaughtering animals like they're just objects.
Yeah. That's why I'm vegan, because I don't think we should be doing that to the animals.
The last dude that was on here, switching from topics now, but the last dude that was on here was a little bit disrespectful, I'd say. I mean, some of his topics, well, pretty much all of the things that he said was like, just how would I put it? Misinformed. I feel like you're a lot more informed than other people, and these people are just being extremely disrespectful to you. You're a really smart guy, you know.
Yeah, that's fine. I accept it. I accept all the hate. I like it. Anything else?
I'm not really coming on here to debate you, so I'm just trying to talk to you.
All right, thank you. All right, let's look for one more debate. Hello?
Hi, Mark.
Hi.
I just want you to substantiate your claim that trans women are women.
How old are you, by the way?
I'm 23.
Okay, yeah, trans women are women because they have woman identities.
But I'd say that identity is to understand something, and that it's self-perception. If you acknowledge that you're a male, I'd say that counts as that. No?
If you identify as a man, you're a man. If you identify as a woman, you're a woman. That's why trans women are women.
Yeah, but I'd say that gender and sex are more so synonymous, and it just references age, sex, and species.
You think your gender expression is the same thing as your sex?
No, I'd say gender.
Okay, so then there is a distinction. There's a clear distinction between gender and sex. One involves psychology and neurobiology and sociology and culture, and one doesn't.
Okay, well, I'd counter that by saying that when these things that are prescribed to women just describe atypical attributes, and then it alienates other women who don't perform X, Y, and Z out of that category, and so we have to do it objectively.
Not at all. This is a linguistics concern. You're asserting a kind of essentialist view in which there are categories of women and men in which there are only exclusive traits to one category that cannot be shared with another. That's false in my eyes. In my eyes, that's not how we use words, right? Women, although there are commonalities between women and men, we can still make distinctions based on typical traits. Men have male typical traits, women have female typical traits.
I think that sex system categorizes on atypical traits and generalizations. I'd say that's an oversimplified simplification.
Sex is.
Other women.
There's nobody being alienated. The only one alienating.
Because you're saying.
Hold on. Let me elaborate. The only one alienating is you when you suggest that women are the only woman can be female. Only females can be women, and only males can be men. That's the one who is alienating, because you're disregarding the psychology behind gender. We ask people questions about their expressions, their roles they fulfill, their identities, and we notice a stark difference between what they tell us and their sex. Right? Trans
Why?
women exist. They exist.
What's
Gender
the
roles exist.
basis?
Gender expressions. I'm sorry?
I'd say that these things that are associated with gender are they're like patriarchal, and they're to like primarily keep women submissive. I'd say
Nobody
there's
is
no
doing
innate.
nobody's
Hang on,
subjecting them to patriarchy.
Hang on.
Nobody is
There's
being
no innate.
sexist here. You're not
Yeah,
being
but by
very
saying that
not
you can
intelligible.
be a
Hold
woman by doing
on. You're
X.
just rambling. You're just rambling.
I'm not. You're not letting me.
Why are
rebuttal.
trans women not women? You're suggesting that
Because they're males.
what?
Because they're men. Because they're males.
Okay, that's the problem. What's a male?
A male is someone whose dominant pathway is the Wolffian pathway.
The Wolffian pathway? The
Yeah.
ovium?
Pardon?
The what pathway?
The one that's the Wolffian, the one that produces small gametes.
Okay.
Even with intersex,
Okay.
we can
Gametes.
distinguish
All right.
males from females.
So okay, great. So when you're walking around the street and you're trying to decide if somebody's a man or woman, you look at their gametes.
No, we look at the phenotypes.
Oh,
prescribed, yes.
okay. So we look
That's
at
an
their
expression of
other
that pathway.
features. We don't look at their gametes. We look at their other features, like what? Short hair, beards, things like that.
No, biological differences.
Okay.
So
How do you
women
know? Like,
atypically
am I a
have
man?
larger
Am I a man to you?
hips. Yeah, you're a man.
Okay. Why am I a man? Why did you say I'm a man?
Because we have morphology, and we can distinguish when you've gone through puberty. I presume you've gone through the male puberty. We've got morphology, so we can see like subtle differences in bone structure, as well as
Okay. Bone structure.
You know,
What
the
else?
fact that-
What else?
I mean, women can have short hair, so I'd just say primarily bone structure and the fact that facial hair is atypical in women.
What if a
because they've
woman
got,
has? What
like,
if a woman?
PCSO.
What if a female has a similar bone structure to me? What are they? They're men.
They're still women. No, I'm not saying that.
Okay,
I'm saying
see,
that we
this
can
is the
distinguish between the sexes.
problem. This is the problem
but
with
this
your
is the-
definition. This is the problem with your definition. The problem is that you're putting first you said it's the gamete production, and then you said, oh, what's other features? So right off the bat, you can't know if somebody's a woman based on their gametes. You look at other features. That indicates you're looking at other features, and you described bone structure and other things.
Because
And
the
I would
pathway is an
agree. I would
expression.
agree. That fits with my definition. I agree that when we make guesstimates about somebody's identity, we're looking at other features that go beyond their gamete production. And so I agree with
Yeah,
you.
but the phenotypes are an expression of that pathway.
Okay, I agree. But
Yeah.
you're referring to typicality. And I agree. Typically, males have my type of bone structure. But there are some women and females, like you just agreed, that could have my bone structure. And so, again, this is the problem with your definition. You don't know who does who. You can't decide. With my definition, it accounts for all these things by looking at
Okay, so with
other traits that are typical of males, and we also recognize this
yeah,
as
but what I'm saying is
identity.
the gender roles is where me and you have a problem, because I'd say that the roles that are assigned and prescribed to women are because of patriarchal values. And
Nobody is suggesting that women are supposed to have certain roles. We're not saying that.
But when you say you're a
We're
woman,
describing
on the basis-
certain roles that women fulfill, right? We're not saying that women must. See, it would be sexist if I said all women must do this or all women have this feature. That would be sexist. But I'm not being sexist here because I'm recognizing there are typical features that are associated with the sex and the gender. And so there's no
But that doesn't make it
sexist,
that.
there's no discrimination here. I'm accounting for everybody. And that's why that's what your definition fails to do. Mine does.
So you think men can be women?
No. When did I ever say that?
Okay, you think males can be women.
Men are men,
So
women
that's
are women. This is
contradictory.
basic.
Okay, so what's the humanizing word for women that excludes males from that demographic?
Again, you're question begging. This is a question begging argument.
I'd
That
say
there
that's
has to
valid.
be,
I'd say that's
that there
valid.
has to be an exclusivity aspect to the way we categorize things. That
Yeah,
when
of
we
course.
categorize
Otherwise there wouldn't
women,
be a need for the category.
excuse me?
Because then there wouldn't be a need for the category.
Not at all. See, again, this is why this argument is question begging. See, do you know the differences between categorization theories and philosophy of language?
No, I don't, Mike.
That's the problem.
Yeah, I think that's a bit of a red herring.
If you're gonna assume, look, if you're gonna assert a particular theory of categorization, you better know what the fuck you're talking about. And in your case, you're asserting a kind of essentialism. In my case, I'm not. In my case, I'm appealing to a kind of prototype theory of categorization in which we make distinctions based on typicalities. And the same applies to a truck and a car example. So, for example, do you agree that there are distinctions between cars and trucks?
Yeah, of course.
Great. What are the distinctions that are exclusive to trucks that cars cannot have?
I'd say that they're large on hold.
Oh, but cars could be larger than trucks.
That's silly, Mike. Because that's
Now it's silly. Now it's silly.
Differentiates them.
But obviously we make distinctions.
Differentiates them. Yeah, that's what
Exactly. What differentiates them is typicalities. Trucks are typically larger. Cars are typically smaller. But there could be some cars that are bigger than trucks. Trucks typically have beds, but some cars can have beds. Sometimes they do, like the El Camino or the Subaru Baja. See, there are certain commonalities, no exclusivities, and that's why you're question begging essentialism. I am not, and you're failing.
Okay, can I ask you a question? What differentiates men from women?
Men have male typical traits. Women have female typical traits.
So what about if you don't possess female typical traits?
Then you're not a woman. Then you're not a woman. If you don't possess female typical traits, you're not a woman.
What are female typical traits?
Long hair, dresses, makeup, certain things like that.
So if I don't do all them things, if I don't do all them things, I'm a man by default.
No, obviously I gave you a certain selection of traits. There are thousands others. But the point is, if you align with female typical traits, you're a woman. If you don't, you're not.
Okay, so if I'm a man and I wear makeup and have long hair and wear dresses, that makes me a woman.
No.
Because that's atypical.
No, because that person will not necessarily align with female typical traits.
So what does it mean to align?
You have in common, you share it with.
So if I have a commonality with primarily men, by de facto that makes me a man.
No. A man is not a person. A man's an identity, just like a woman is an identity. And so, hold on. A man is a gender identity. And so it entails certain traits. If you share those traits, if you align with those traits, you're a man. If you're not, you're not. And that's all I'm saying. Now, you're pointing out, oh, look, what if a man had long hair? What if a man wears dresses? Are they a woman now? No, not necessarily. Because they don't have an identity that aligns with that womanhood. That's the thing you're missing here, right? We have to look at all the traits and do they align with that? Does their identity align with that or not? If it doesn't, they're not a woman. So your analogy fails.
So it's completely subjective, is what you're saying?
Everything about words are subjective. Welcome to linguistics.
No, I'd say that there's some objectivity in the things that we describe.
Words are not objective. Definitions are not objective.
Okay, but we can differ. If there was just subjective, then we wouldn't have categories in the first place.
Wrong. Again, you're asserting essentialism. You should learn more about the philosophy of language and how we categorize things. Because how we categorize words is not based on exclusivity only. We also base
women on atypical.
We
You're
can make
basing women on
category distinctions
atypical
based on
attributes.
typicalities.
You're basing women. You're conflating women with femininity and men with masculinity, because that's like
No, you're
this whole
confused. Clover. You're
dichotomy of men and
confused.
women and like atypical attributes is absolutely insane, and it's perpetuated by these like patriarchal ideals.
Okay, stop
And
with
to
the
say that because
patriarch
you share
nonsense.
these
Stop. You're
attributes,
just gabbling. You're just rambling right now. All you're saying is that we need exclusivity. I showed you multiple times why that's not true. So what makes my prototype theory of categorization invalid?
because you're basing it on atypicals.
What? Atypicals?
You're basing everything off atypicals, and there's no
No,
differentiation.
I'm not basing anything on atypical.
Generalizations.
I'm basing my category on typical traits.
Yeah, atypical. That's what I meant.
What is wrong with basing categories on typicality?
Because then it alienates people that don't follow these like gender and social norms from them categories, and there's no difference.
No, it's not. There's nobody under under the way I categorize things. There is nobody who's alienated from a certain category. That's nonsense.
If I'm a masculine woman who
They're
doesn't
women.
possess these
If they
social
identify as women, they're women. It's that simple. You could be masculine. You could be a masculine woman. You could be a feminine woman. You're still a woman.
Hang on. What does identify with? Because that you're saying that's atypical attributes. So then, if I was in like an
So you're
abnormal
saying
masculine
atypical.
woman,
Do you mean typical traits or atypical?
yeah, that's the same thing.
No, atypical does not mean typical. They're like reverse. They're opposites.
No, if you say like
Atypical means not
then
typical.
we can like say it's typical.
Atypical means not typical.
No, it does mean typical.
So
I'm pretty sure
atypical
it
means
does.
typical.
Okay. Maybe I concede on that.
You
Maybe
keep
I've got that
confusing
wrong.
me.
Okay, so you're saying that women.
My
if they
definition
don't-
of men and women accounts for masculine women. It accounts for feminine men. It accounts for all these things. It's just that you don't want to listen to me. That's the problem here. You're appealing to incredulity, and yet another fallacy you're making.
No, I wouldn't say so. I'd say,
That's
I'm just
not a
saying that
counter.
yours-
That's not a counter argument.
I'm trying to speak to you, but you just keep like going a bit crazy. What I'm saying is there's no strict differentiative between these categories.
That is question begging essentialism. Do you know what that means?
I don't know what question begging is. I know what essentialism is.
Do you know what it means that
I
you're
would say what
question begging
essentialism.
essentialism? What does it mean when I tell you that?
I don't know. You tell me. I actually don't know.
Okay,
I don't know what
so
question.
you don't know. It's okay to not know. I'm just asking you because I want to clarify, make sure you understand me.
Yeah, I'm
You
saying
are
I don't know.
asserting a particular theory of categorization. In other words, a way we categorize words in language. You're asserting that there has to be exclusivity when we divide things. I say that's not true. I say I'm positing a different theory, which suggests that we can make distinctions of categories based on typicalities, standout traits. And that's called prototype theory. So this renders your entire argument moot.
No, Mike, I'd just say that we have a need for categories. We need to mitigate risk against females, and I feel like females is the humanizing word for women. And when you add males to that equation, then there's no differentiative other than atypical attributes that many women won't align with, and therefore renders them not women.
Nah, that's gibberish.
Using your logic.
That was all gibberish. Again, if you're a woman, that means you identify as a woman. If you're a man, it means you have a man identity. It's all inclusive. My
What does it mean
definition,
to have a
my
man and a
categories
woman
actually
identity?
include all people, trans people. Yours doesn't. Your definition can't include trans people. Mine does. You're the one who's being non-inclusive. You're the one who's alienating, not me.
I'd just say that trans women aren't women. I'd say they're males, and I'd say they're men.
That doesn't mean anything to me because males has no bearing on your gender. Again, you're a question begging yet again that there is that gender and sex are not distinct. And the empirics is vastly on my side on this, okay? various really highly regarded organizations around the world agree that there is a neurobiological basis behind gender, that it makes it distinct from sex. You can disregard this all you want, but it's a fact of reality.
There's no objective female brain though. And there's no
I never
objective
said
male
there
brain,
was. That's a straw man. That's a straw man fallacy.
Are you on about the BNST when you say that? Because I know that like impacts social behaviors like hormone regulation.
That's one of the features of the brain, but there are
that's not
several
sexually
other.
dimorphic until puberty, and
That's
it's
not true.
masculinized by
There is
testosterone and it's feminized by
dimorphism. There is
estrogen.
dimorphism before puberty, but it's the case that there's something called neuroplasticity. So when you get out of puberty, your brain changes, but your core identity remains. Your core identity is still there. It's just that there are some changes. It's plastic. The other part of this is that it's not just the B and ST. That's gender critical people love to focus on that one brain part, but they forget all the others that correspond to your gender. And we are now finding that there is a stark relation between these brain parts and your identity. And so disregarding them is not a good look. It is not
I've
scientific.
not disregarded them.
Okay, so then
just said
what's your
the BNST
scientific
and I pointed
criticism? So then what is your criticism
My
about
scientific
what I'm telling
criticism
you?
is there's no female, there's no masculine, there's no male, there's no female brain objectively.
That's a straw man. I never said there's a male brain.
No,
Of
okay,
course
can you
there
just
is a
let me speak? Can you
mosaic.
just,
Okay, let me explain this to you. Emerging in the neurosciences is this idea of a brain mosaic in which there isn't a strictly male brain and strictly female brain, but there is a mosaic between these brains, and there are varying degrees of structures. There are brain phenotypes that we can now see, and those phenotypes match with people's gender identities. And so I agree, there is no strictly male or female brain, but there are brain phenotypes that give rise to the spectrum of genders that we exhibit as human beings.
and do you think how we exhibit gender is innate, or do you think it's just like social?
The way we no, that's a good question. Is the way we exhibit gender purely neurobiological? No, there are sociological aspects, there are cultural aspects to it. There are many other aspects that are involved in how we express ourselves, how we identify. But for the most part, the underpinnings is going to be neurobiological, and that is empirically based. And your entire definition of what a man is or a woman is completely disregards any of the empirics. And so that's the problem.
I think though that your definition is highly subjective, and if you're saying a woman can be anything because it's based on like whether you follow like the female social schema, then it
You're
means
fumbling.
anything.
You're massively fumbling.
No, I'm not.
I never fucking said a woman can be anything. So stop strawmanning my position.
Yeah, but by your logic, it can be.
No,
Do they have to like?
I never
or do you have to
fucking said
quantify-
a woman can
Hang
be
on, you have
anybody
to
can be anything they want.
quantify-
No. All right, let's try
you have
this.
to hang on.
Let's try this. Steelman my position. Let's go. Let's hear what do you think I'm saying?
What is your position? That anyone that follows atypical attributes associated with the female sex is therefore de facto a female. Is that your argument?
No, what? No. Okay, let's try this. What do you think it means to be transgender?
It means that you do like female, like feminist, like feminizing things. That you do like feminine.
No. Okay. You are severely
You like wear dresses and makeup.
you are, at this point, I don't think you have the intellectual capacity to even partake in this discussion. But I'll entertain it for a few seconds. No, in both cases you are severely wrong. Being transgender means you don't identify with the gender identity you were given at birth. And my position is that trans women are women because they have a woman identity. And this is an internal sense of who you are that is innate to our brains. So let's
We're
try again.
embodied beings.
Try again.
Okay, so
Why is this
no,
wrong?
no, we're embodied beings. This is the thing. You are your body, and that's the thing that you're just like you're just like praising this fucking disconnect between the two.
I'm sorry, you said we are embodied beings? Why is that relevant?
Yeah.
Why? That's a complete red
You're
herring.
saying that. How is that a red herring?
Because it's irrelevant whether we're
You're saying that you
embodied
don't
beings or
align
not.
with your gender and therefore your sex. I'd say that they're still synonymous.
Okay, so let me give you a list of organizations that have done research on this very topic that agree with me and disagree with you. The American Academy of Pediatrics, the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists, the American Neurological Association, the American Society for Reproductive Medicine, the American College of Physicians, the American Association of Clinical Endocrinology, the American Psychological Association. All of these organizations agree that gender is different from sex. Why do you disagree with why do you disagree with them?
Because I think it's just fucking pandering, to be fair.
Oh, so you're appealing to incredulity. And yet another fallacy.
You're appealing to authority.
No, this is not authority, because I actually understand that they have done research on this very topic. It's not just, I acknowledge that. I'm not just saying, oh, they say it, therefore it's true. I'm saying that they have done research on this topic. That's the thing I alluded to when I first told you about it. But we can go into the science about it if you'd like to. Here's a scientific study called Sex versus Gender Associations with Brain Structure. That study shows that what I'm saying is correct. Another study called Neurobiological Characteristics Associated with Gender Identity. This study took brain scans of people and found that there are correlations between your identity and your brain. Wow, would you look at that? There is empirics. There are fields of science and fields of sociology dedicated to this very issue that disagree with you. Wow. What else do you got?
I just think we have a need for categorization and you shouldn't base it on atypical fucking commonalities that are exhibited within people.
Yeah, have a good day.
I think we should.
Man, this is frustrating. It's frustrating when I present the science, like I presented several studies. I present like organizations that in like peer-reviewed journals that actually agree with what I'm saying, and then they just go, oh no, wrong. You know, it's frustrating. But hopefully in 10, 15 years, people will catch on. It's really frustrating. I mean, I've never seen anything like this. The amount of the resistance is so strong that they're so resistant against this idea that sex is not is different than gender. They're so resistant. It's amazing how the human brain works. It's amazing how we can just be so adamantly against something when we don't understand it. Right? And that's ultimately what's happening here. People have a hard time accepting that the brain is who you are. People have a hard time accepting that that trans people are regular people, that they're not pretending, they are a certain way that is different from you. That's all. You know? Why do you think it's causing the resistance? Yeah, good question. I think it has to do with how we've been conditioned to believe something all our lives, right? That it's only man and woman and everything else is crazy. I think also a big part of it is that people are just repulsed by this topic. You know, they're repulsed by the idea that people are From their point of view, they're just dressing up as men, right? They're just dressing up as women to deceive us, right? And that's their kind of perception of it. And that's why they feel the right to be so aggressive and resistant. Cognitive dissonance gets in the way, I just didn't realize it was so strong in us, Yeah, school, that's another good part of it. Yeah, exactly. Education, right? Schools don't teach this very well. And you have to actually go to college to even specialize in this kind of stuff. And so there's a cultural resistance because, a lot of conservatives, oh yeah, gender studies, that's just a useless degree, right? We've been saying that for the past 20 years. Oh, it's just useless to study gender. But now they're confused about gender because they didn't study it, right? So it's kind of like our irony. It's also, many, 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 many things involved in here. But the solution is education. It's always education. That's always the solution. We have to patiently, unfortunately, and calmly educate people, make them understand, right? Show them the data as much as you can, show them the evidence, the empirics, the data, and just, that's all we can do, right? It's a big problem we have if people don't even understand each other. Yeah, we need better education for sure. Yeah, it's been a problem plaguing us for decades. But all I know is that if I can help by educating, I'll do it. I just can't stand all the hatred. I don't like it. And the antidote to hatred is education. The bigotry is unmatched. What we're seeing on social media is something we've never seen before. This amount of bigotry is really, really, and people feel open about it. They feel enabled to be bigoted now because of the current state of affairs politically. But it's not that, however, I'm not saying that bigotry is something new, right? Bigotry has always been part of our existence as human beings. Go back to the caveman days. The problem is today, our rights, the way we live, is dependent and highly correlated to our understanding about the world. And so our understanding needs to match reality. If it doesn't, you're putting people's lifestyles at risk, people's well-being at risk. That's the difference. Yeah, it's amazing how hateful people are today. Being online enables that behavior because there's an anonymity to it. No, I'm not going to match their energy. That's a lot of people say that. Oh, just fight back and match their energy, be an asshole back. But that doesn't help anything. That just polarizes us further. unfortunately, and I'm saying this because it's true, unfortunately, we have to be patient more than ever if we want to educate others, right? The education is the answer. And if we want the best education, we have to be patient. And doing the, oh, fight back and be an asshole back, that's not working. We're trying that, right? It's not working. Unfortunately, we have to be role models. And it's hard. It's hard as shit. And that's why that's why we're losing this battle, because we're not being good role models. We need better role models who can patiently educate other people. We lack that. Hatred towards falsehood. Again, no, first of all, hate in any regard is likely not going to be justified. But even if it is, something being false is your perception of it. You know, you're saying it's false because you just think that. It doesn't mean it's true. And for the most part, most gender critical people haven't actually looked at the data that supports my view. They haven't. They just have the intuition that I'm wrong. And that's the thing you have to be careful of. You can't just say, oh, see, you're wrong, therefore I could be a jerk. That's very toxic. And for multiple reasons. First of all, because you're not right. And second of all, hate is never good. You know? I think if you were more intellectually honest, you wouldn't get more hate. What does that mean? Look, there is no good reason to hate for any reason. You just, look, the natural human tendency is to hate things they don't understand, right? This is the basis of racism. Oh, they look different. Humans have that in us. All of us have that kind of sense that if something's different from us, I want to get rid of it, right? We feel uncomfortable with those of us who are different or disagree. And so we can't succumb to that. We have to fight that. And so, yeah, no, hate is not the answer. How are we supposed to educate if they're not willing to learn? Well, again, that's a big problem. How do we get them to learn? Well, nobody wants to be taught by an asshole, right? Nobody wants to be talked down, and so we have to be patient. I don't know of a better way to help people learn. You know, shaming others doesn't work. You know, talking down doesn't work. Their feelings don't correspond with reality. Nobody said. So being transgender is not a feeling, right? It's not. Identifying as a woman is not a feeling. That's why you're confused. It's not the same thing as a feeling. It's an identity. It's different. And that's why your analogy doesn't work there. But you are shaming people who don't agree with you. I make mistakes sometimes. Yeah, I have done that in the past. I try not to. I try my best not to. But again, it's a natural urge, right? When somebody gets something wrong. See, that's bad. It's a bad answer. It's very natural. It's hard to fight that urge. But I think that we should strive to not do that. It's hard. It's not easy. It's going to take time and effort for us to get over this. Just like the past, right? People were very hateful towards gay people and lesbian people. But over time, We've listened and learned from them. That's all it's going to take for us, for the trans issue. You know, identifying if something, they're not a mental issue. What? Nobody is identifying with something they're not, right? That's another falsehood. That's your perception of it. See, your perception is that somebody's just putting on a wig and pretending to be a woman. That's your perception. The problem is that's not the reality. The reality, if you actually listen to those people, you listen to them and you realize, yeah, it's who they are. It's something that they are inside, internally. It's coming from the brain. Just like my identity as a man comes from my brain, so does a trans man's identity come from their brain. That's the thing you're confused about. And so I know your perception of it is, oh, they're just pretending. It's not that. Nobody's pretending to do this. It's not a pretend. I'm not confused. Okay, then what does it mean to be transgender? If you're not confused, what does it even mean to be transgender? Let's hear it. I guarantee you don't know. I know what you think it is. Yeah, that's a cop-out. You don't know what it is. Again, the gender critical people just don't want to learn. I'm not shaming you here. What I'm saying is there's a reason why you don't want to learn about this, because your mind has been made up, and that's because you're following your intuition about this. Your intuition says, oh, they're just putting on a wig. They're crazy. They're mentally ill. That's your intuition. And so that's stopping you from learning. I advise you to listen and learn a bit more about this than what you're judging from the outside. See? Don't judge a book by its cover. This is a timeless lesson. And so I know your perception is that they're all crazy, they're all ill, they're all mentally crazy. But do the research. Look at the data. They're not crazy. Right? We know that, for example, 50% of trans women and men experience trans phantoms. Now, what's that? Well, a trans phantom is a kind of sensation you get. Well, let's talk about a phantom sensation. A phantom sensation is a sensation you get. For example, let's say you had your leg removed from an accident and you have a prosthetic limb. You still might feel sensations in that area as if you had a leg still, right? But there's no leg there, but you might have sensations. And the reason why is because the brain has a schema of the body. The brain has a map of the body, and it tells you where your body parts are, and so it's still sending signals there, but it's not going anywhere, right? And so it gets a sensation. The very interesting thing about this is that when we look at men who go through penile surgery, they get their genitals removed, unfortunately, because of cancer, things like that. They report getting sensations in that area, oftentimes painful. But trans women don't get those sensations. This is strange, right? And trans men do get those sensations. Wow, that tells us something interesting. That trans women, although they're born male, they have a kind of female body schema in the brain that gives them sensations of features they don't have. Like, for example, they 50% of trans people report having phantom sensations of in the vagina or the breast area, even though they don't have those bodily parts. That's very interesting. See, this is profound. This is a profound fact that's been studied over many, many years, but gender critical people don't even acknowledge this. They don't even acknowledge it. They disregard it because they're, oh, that's stupid. They're pretending. You see? And see, all you're saying, oh, it's pseudoscience, it's pseudoscience. But here is the actual scientific paper on this. It's called The Occurrence of Phantom Genitalia After Gender Reassignment Surgery. Right? Go look at that study where it demonstrates these sensations occur, and we find the differences between trans and cis people. Right? You can sit there and say, no, it's wrong, it's stupid, but it's still true. And so this is the kind of stuff that we have to fight against in a way. People that say, oh, no, that's pseudoscience, or that's wrong, or it's all been debunked. That's not a scientific critique. And it's not evidence-based at all. Mike, what feature do all trans women have that makes you not want to date them? There's no such thing as a feature that all trans women have. If you're alluding to male genitalia, well, some trans women are female. See, this is another misunderstanding. Some people believe that all trans women are male. No, there are some female trans women. It's rare, but it's possible. And so there is no such feature that all trans women have. But yes, my dating preferences is irrelevant to their status as a man or woman. As much as you think it's not, and as much as you believe that if I wouldn't date somebody, therefore they're not a woman, that's just crazy, right? Obviously, there are some cis women I wouldn't date, but they're still women. The same with trans women. I wouldn't date trans women, but they're still women. Same with cis women. I wouldn't date them, but they're still women. So your entire argument collapses. It's garbage. Your critiques are garbage. Your analogies are garbage. Your arguments are garbage. Everything you got is garbage. Studies can be manipulated. Okay, demonstrate that they've been manipulated. Where's the manipulation? See, that's called peer review. This study has thankfully been peer reviewed. That means multiple people in the field have looked through the work. Okay? And if you disagree with it, provide a scientific criticism. Saying it's manipulation is not a scientific criticism. That is just a feeling you have. Oh, it might be manipulated. Well, so can what you're saying be manipulated. It's irrelevant. The substance is relevant, and you're not critiquing the substance. You're critiquing your intuition. Peer-reviewed studies don't mean anything. Is this a state we're in where people are just rejecting the science now? Like, yes, the methodologies are important too. And that's why if you look through the studies, they give and outlay the methodologies, right? See, you have the privilege of sitting there behind the comment section on your keyboard and say, this study is not reviewed. This study doesn't have the methodology. But you haven't done the work. You haven't done jack shit to demonstrate the science is incorrect. And so again, it's not a critique. That's invalid. It's wrong to say that You're arguing from incredulity, if anything. The first step is proving to people that science is true. Well, this is a complicated thing. Science is not an authority. Science is a method in itself. And so saying science is true doesn't make much sense. But I understand what you're trying to say is people need to understand the importance of the methodology of science. And I agree wholeheartedly. And we have people devaluing science since COVID. COVID was a paradigm shift for many people. But again, it should not have been. If you understand the science, that should not have been something that that rendered you unable to trust science. And so this problem is a very deep problem. It's foundational to our modern society because people don't understand science. We have a largely scientifically illiterate populace, and it's going to take decades to fix that, But again, the way we fix it is by being patient and explaining as best we can. Look, I don't know how else to fix this, right? I don't know how else to fix this except for being kind, being patient, and educating people with kindness and compassion. I can't think of a better solution than that. If you have one, let me know. But all I can say is we got to do better, right? As proponents for these issues, we got to do better. Disagreeers have to do better. Everybody's got to do better. And being kind. Right now we're so polarized and hateful, but we all can do better. I think it's possible. I think I see a future where one day we recognize all these things. We understand these things. We're kinder. We're more patient with one another. I think that's very possible. I think it's possible. I'm optimistic, but it's going to take time. It's going to take time. What do you think Gavin Newsom is doing to deal with? What do you think about what Gavin Newsom is doing? Well, yeah, he's kind of doing. He's mocking back. I don't know. I don't know if it's really working or not. It's hard to tell. But all I know from my experience is when you are patient with somebody, when you're kind to them, they listen to you more. They're way more willing to listen to you. When you're kind, agreeable to an extent, and you listen to them, they want to listen to you. And I don't know if mockery is the best, most effective method to that. But yeah, but Trump isn't kind. I know. I understand, and I agree that the other side is not very kind. But again, that's why we have to be extra patient. Because the only way we're going to get them back to our side is if we are patient. Every time somebody on the left mocks or fights or calls them racist, that doesn't help them. It doesn't help. They're not listening to you when you do that. They're more put off by that, if anything. Your streams build my resentment for the community even more. Yeah, because you automatically disagree with me. Right? You obviously have a religious foundation, and that's what guides you most, right? Allah or Jesus, whatever, and that's fine. But I don't see why you should be so resentful towards others. Especially if you believe in God. right? You know, if you preach kindness and compassion for your fellow godly people, why are you being hateful towards others? It doesn't make any sense, you know? If you truly believe they were women, you'd be open to dating them. Why? What? Are you saying that I have to date every woman? Are you telling me that I have to be open to dating every woman on earth? No, that's ridiculous. There are some women that are cisgender that I would not date. Obese women, that's not my preference. I don't prefer obese people. I don't prefer non-vegan people. I don't prefer non-atheist or religious people. I don't prefer those people. Does that make them not women because I wouldn't date them? No, that's ridiculous. Just because I would not necessarily date a trans person or trans woman doesn't mean that they're not women. It doesn't follow from that. It's an invalid inference you're making. And so that's why your argument's just shitty. And everybody keeps using this. People keep using these arguments because lots of pro-trans proponents don't know how to defend this, right? They don't know how to combat these little tactics they're using. So they kind of get lost and then they go, oh, see, got you, right? But it's not going to work for me. None of this propaganda existed before 2000s. It did, but you probably weren't alive back then. 1, 2, you probably weren't exposed to it because you didn't learn about it. That's not a failure of the movement. It's a failure on your behalf and your environment's behalf to not understand this issue. If they're post-op, isn't that close to your preference? No, I don't prefer to date somebody who I can't have biological children with. Right? I want children. So I wouldn't date somebody who can't have children. It's just not my preference. So you can try all you want. Oh, what is it? It's not going to work on me. And by the way, even if some people do, a lot of cisgender guys are open to dating trans women. It doesn't make them gay. Right? Because if you think that makes them gay, you're question begging the idea that they're men. And so whichever way you go, you're entering a fallacy. You're entering fallacies. Yeah, it does. No, it doesn't. Trans women are women, not men. You can fight all you want about it, but that's not an argument. It's question begging. Right? That's like me saying the earth is flat because the earth is flat. Does it make it true? Bro is coping. Yeah, I'm coping really hard. If someone dates trans, there definitely are. No. Why? So this implies sexuality refers to just genitalia, right? You're implying that, oh, if somebody's dating a trans woman with a penis, that means they like penis. That means they're gay. No, not necessarily. Some people might have other preferences that they're attracted to that go beyond the genitalia, okay? And so same-sex attraction is not based on your genitalia. Like, the reason why I'm attracted to women is not just because of their vaginas. There are other reasons why I'm attracted to women. And so sexual attraction is not contingent on genitalia. So again, you're like confused in multiple ways, you know? Reality is not on your side. You don't have an argument. You're just saying blah. I'm right. That's not an argument. You're just saying blah 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 blah, jibber jabber. I'm right. You lose. That's not an argument. You know. Yes, you have a preference towards female genitalia, but there's other reasons why you're attracted to women, right? Okay, there's other reasons. I'm attracted to intelligence too. I'm attracted to compassion and kindness, right? It's more than just your vagina that I'm attracted to. It's more than your genitalia, right? Objective reality is on my side. You can keep saying that all you want, but it's not an argument, right? You can just keep saying that. I'm right, blah blah blah. I'm right. That's not an argument. You like the soft skin? Yeah. I just wish people were more open. People are so closed off today, so isolated. Why do atheists believe we have souls? If so, what happens to a soul when we die? I don't know if every atheist believes that, but yeah, some atheists might believe in some kind of platonic realm where there's something beyond the material that are properties of beings like us. But I don't believe it. I don't see why they have to exist. I don't even know what that means. A lot of guys are sexually driven from the start. That's why they're mentioning meanies. Guys are so fucking weird. I hate guys. Atheists don't have souls. Oh, nobody has souls in my view. Nobody has a soul. You know? Yeah, Gen Z guys today are very, very toxic. Everybody is so quick to hate and fight. It's a shame that they don't have role models anymore who teach kindness and compassion, patience. We don't have that anymore. So you would date a trans woman with a transplant. What transplant? What are you talking about? I'm not allowed to be in tech. Bro said if someone likes trans, they ain't gay. That's a crazy stance. That's not an argument. Again, you can keep saying, no, I'm right. It's not an argument. No, sorry, I'm not attracted to male features. I'm not attracted to the male body. I'm sorry. I'm not attracted to male genitalia. I'm not attracted to male anything. I'm not, And so you can try all these what if they had a transplant? What if this? I'm just not attracted to that. I'm sorry. I'm just not attracted to males. You're trying so hard to get the gotcha. You're trying so hard. It's not worth it. You're wasting your time. Don't knock it till you try it. You don't think they're women then? No! Oh my gosh. Males can be women. Males can be women. You guys are just confused that You're still stuck on the males can only be men thing. You're still stuck on that. That's why you're confused. Learn about other people. Mike knows he messed up when he said wouldn't date a trans. Okay, what's the argument that renders trans women men because I wouldn't date them? Give the inference to that. Give the syllogism for that argument. I'd love to hear this argument in syllogistic form. Let's try me. Give the argument why they're men because I wouldn't date them. Let's hear it. Do I consider myself leftist? I don't know. I don't know where I am politically. I'm just a person. But all I know is that I don't like Trump, and I stand by the things I believe in, that I advocate for in this app. Mike, you better repent. Repent. Do more debates? No, I'm good. I can't take it. All this nonsense. Still waiting on that argument that renders trans women men because I wouldn't date them. I'd love to hear it. I'd love to hear that. Dude probably believes in climate change. Dude, don't get me started. You don't know what climate change is. I guarantee you don't even know what climate change means. So go ahead in the comment section and describe what climate change is. I'd love to hear this. Yeah, he has no idea what it means. It's typical of somebody who doesn't agree with it. Very typical of that. When the earth gets hotter. Nope, that's not climate change. Try again. You said you weren't attracted to male characteristics, but yet you saying that they are women. Women can have male characteristics. No contradiction. You're not quite grasping my argument. You don't understand it. Try again. The theory that the earth is heating up. Nope. Try again. That's not climate change. By the way, it's a fact that the earth is warming up, not a theory. But that's not the only component of climate change. Some people believe evolution is morphin time. Yeah. Some people believe that. You know, it actually saddens me how people don't understand the world sometimes. It saddens me that people don't think evolution happens. That really deeply saddens me because of how amazing evolution is, how amazing science is. People reject it. It saddens me because when you understand the world more, you appreciate it more. It's you can't explain it. You have to do it. You have to understand it to know it. And it really makes you appreciate things. Brian Greene would be shaking his head if he heard all this. Brian Greene's a vegan. Oops, somehow I sent an invite for some reason. Do you believe in college outside of doctoral degrees? Hell yeah. Education is important. Can you explain evolution? I'm very tired, but evolution is a fact of reality that describes genetic changes over time. Now, this is generational time. So, for example, if I have children, me and my wife have children, my child's DNA is going to be a little bit different than mine. It'll be the same species, right? My kid is going to be a human, but he'll be a bit different in its genetic makeup. His kid is going to be even a bit more different than me, right? And his kid, my great-grandson, is going to be even more different from me, right? And you keep going down the line, thousands of generations of these changes, eventually you'll get such a different being that it can no longer reproduce with that original population. And so that's speciation, where it happens all the time in nature, where a population of species exist together and they migrate for some reason, they split apart, they diverge, and over time they become so different that they can no longer reproduce, and so they develop different genetics that renders them a different species, and the other population goes their own way. And so there's a branching, right? This is what gives rise to the tree of life, you know. And this has been happening for 4.5 billion years. It's remarkable that we, right now, carry 4 billion years of evolutionary baggage. That in your DNA is the genetic code for all species, or many species that have existed in the past, our ancestors. All the way from other apes and monkey-like species and mammals and reptiles, amphibians and fish and bacteria. You have in your DNA many of the coding for bacteria. And many of your bodily functions occur in those domains where even bacteria share in common with us some degree of our DNA. But the point is that evolution is like a tree of life. Think of it like a tree where each branch is a different species and it keeps branching out forever. It's remarkable. Genetic similarities is not proof of evolution. Well, it is one of the evidences. But it's not just similarities. It's also the case that we can show the sequence of these changes in the fossil record. We can see the sequences of changes that have occurred. We can time them. We have a timeline of these changes. And so it's not just that we see differences and say, oh, look, that means we evolved. We can look at the timeline of these events, but we can also see that there were divergences, there were convergences. Okay. There are analogous structures that tell us that certain species don't share things in common, that they share different lineages. There are homologous structures that show us that they do. And so we build a kind of a schema of what has been happening for the past 4 billion years. And now we have a very extensive understanding of evolution. Not much so in Darwin's time, but we have learned so much. And now today, entire fields of medicine are built upon the fabric of evolutionary principles. vaccinations and antibiotics and all of these kinds of antivirus medications, these are absolutely dependent on the fact of evolution. They wouldn't exist. Vaccines would not exist if it weren't for evolution being true. But, explaining this to people is kind of difficult when they don't understand or want to listen. The fossil record is incomplete, and carbon dating is highly inaccurate. Okay, to address your first concern, the fossil record is necessarily incomplete. Not every species fossilizes. It's actually very rare for a species to fossilize. It requires a type of bodily structure. It requires a type of time frame between when you die and when the environment around you encapsulates you. It requires many factors to fossilize, and that's why most species have not fossilized. But that's irrelevant. And because we have enough fossil record. We have enough fossils to understand understand evolution. But furthermore, we have the genetic record. We have a full genetic record to understand as well. So we don't even need the fossil. You can throw away the fossils entirely. We can understand evolution being true based purely on genetics. To address your second concern, carbon dating is very accurate. And it's because it's based on mathematical principles. See, carbon dating isn't just taking a sample and guesstimating how old it is. No, there is math behind it. It takes into consideration the half-life of certain elements like carbon isotopes. It requires the breakdown of elements and isotopes is mathematically dependent, right? The time it takes for a particular isotope to break down is mathematically dependent. And so it's not just a case that we're guessing. It's not a guessing game. No, we know with great certainty that certain atoms are unstable and will break down over a set amount of time. And so that's why carbon dating is very accurate. Now, the problem with carbon dating is that, first of all, its scope is fairly limited to 50,000 years in the past. But furthermore, sometimes the samples we're sampling can be contaminated. And so you have a mix of samples. And sometimes if you're not careful, you can make a mistake and sample the wrong material. And you'll get wildly different dates depending on the different parts of the sample you're taking. And that's where the confusion happens. That's where the errors typically happen. Not because there's some kind of inherent problem with carbon dating, but because there's a problem in human sampling. And so that's the answer. Next question. If climate change is real, how come we got record snow this year? Very good question. How come snow with climate change? Well, the answer is climate change refers to global changes in weather conditions over long periods of time. And so your local weather in your town is not at all equivalent to the long-term measurement of these changes globally. And so, the amount of snow that you see in your town might vary wildly between years. Some years it might have lots of snow, some a little bit, but over to long term, there's an average. And that's what we're concerned about. When we talk about climate change, we're talking about the average conditions. And so we're not looking at individual years or individual instances or storms. We're looking at long term. And overall, globally, what we're finding is that glaciers are melting. that the temperatures are getting warm enough to melt glaciers. The sea ice around the Arctic is melting very quickly. We're seeing the polar vortex get stronger and stronger, more wild, more intense in its variations. We're seeing a slowdown in the AMOC. This is a particular circulation in the ocean, in the Atlantic. We are seeing a decline in species because of deforestation, because of acidification in the oceans, because of temperature increasing, heat waves. We're also seeing something very concerning recently is the intensification, the rapid intensification of hurricanes. And so what we're finding is that hurricanes are not increasing in numbers, but they're increasing in intensity, and how fast they intensify is getting crazy. We're seeing storms go from category 1 to 5 in just 24 hours. Category 1, that's like 75 mile per hour winds, to category 5, which is like near 160 mile per hour winds. This is insane how strong these storms are getting. We're also seeing droughts increasing. We're seeing the desertification of crop fields and forests. We're seeing a decline in aquifer reservoirs. We're pumping more water out than goes back in. These are all parts of climate change, and this is why when temperatures fluctuate day to day, no scientist cares about that. What we care about is the long-term trends, and they do not look good for us. But the good news is that we're working on solutions. Solar, wind, geothermal, battery technology is increasing, electric cars. And so we're attempting to do better. We are banning certain chemicals that might affect the ozone. We're doing some things, but we could definitely be doing more. So that's a great question. Thank you. Back then, they said Florida was supposed to be underwater in the 2000s. The problem is nobody said that. See, science doesn't work on just a statement, right? There is no scientific basis behind that statement that Florida will be underwater. That might be an article headline, right? The news headline might be saying, oh, Florida 2000. But there's also another concern here. And that a lot of people thought, for example, when scientists say we have 8 years to stop climate change, they don't mean that in 8 years we're all going to die. What they mean is there's a window we have to reach and reduce our carbon emissions before we enter the no coming back zone, right? The no return zone, right? In other words, there's a certain window between now and about 10 years that if we fail to do any action on climate change, it will lock us into a certain degree of warming. So that's another concern. People don't understand that. They think that it means that, oh, in 8 years we're all going to die, and see, it didn't happen. See, so therefore climate. No, that's a caricature of the reality. The reality is the climate is warming because of our carbon emissions. And there are certain degrees of minimizing these emissions that would prevent certain amounts of harm. And so if we do the math, okay, we have to reach carbon neutral by 2030s, or else if we don't do that, we're going to see a lot more warming that we can't stop. You know, because right now we can stop a certain amount of warming if we act. And so if we don't act, that causes more warming. All right. Can you meet this person? There's pushback on EVs. My mom and dad said they'll never get an EV no matter what. Yeah, The reason why is because humans are repulsed by new things. We don't like new things. We like the status quo. We like maintaining our habits. We don't like changing. There's also the sense that people think, oh, electric cars, they're gonna know where we are and they're gonna steal our number and the data. Right? There's so much misinformation out there. And it's really sad to see. You know. But yeah, thanks for watching today, guys. I gotta go. I'm tired. Yeah, a lot of misinformation out there. A lot of ignorance. But I think that if we're kind, we're patient, we're understanding, we can help each other learn more. You know? That's the solution.